Every great shift in military power is misunderstood at first. People argue about performance, radar cross-sections, engines, missiles. But those details only matter after something more fundamental is decided. Speed. Not the speed of the aircraft, but the speed of the system that produces it. And that's where this story actually begins. Not in the sky, not in a dogfight, but on a factory floor that doesn't wait for headlines. Most discussions around China's J-35 fighter focus on a simple comparison. Is it better than the F-35? Is it stealthier than legacy platforms? Is it a true fifth-generation aircraft? Those questions are comforting because they're familiar, but they completely miss the real issue. The disruptive element of the J-35 is not what it can do in combat. It's how fast China can replace it if it's lost. Because attrition, not elegance, decides modern wars. And for the first time in decades, one country is optimizing for that reality. According to multiple industry observers and open-source reporting, the J-35 production system is operating at a pace that would have been unthinkable 20 years ago. Roughly one aircraft every few days. But focusing on the number alone is misleading. This is not the result of a single hyper-efficient assembly line. It's the outcome of something much larger, a manufacturing ecosystem designed for continuous output, not symbolic production. Titanium alloy, 3D printing, digitally integrated structural components, end-to-end modeling that reduces rework, delays, and human bottlenecks. This isn't about brilliance, it's about repetition. And repetition is how industrial power compounds. The J-35 is often described as a complement to the J-20. That framing is correct, but incomplete. The J-20 represents technological ambition. The J-35 represents scalability. It is designed to be good enough to matter, affordable enough to export, advanced enough to integrate, and simple enough to produce in volume. That combination is rare. And it's not accidental, because China isn't preparing for a single decisive clash. It's preparing for long-duration pressure, where sustainment matters more than spectacle. Now compare that to the United States and its allies. On paper, Western aerospace firms remain dominant. In reality, they are constrained by fragile supply chains, specialized labor shortages, aging industrial infrastructure, and dependence on critical materials they no longer fully control. Production delays are no longer exceptions, they're expectations, and maintenance backlogs now rival manufacturing backlogs. This isn't a failure of engineering, it's a failure of industrial depth. You cannot surge what you no longer own. Much of this vulnerability converges on one uncomfortable fact. Modern weapons are not built from ideology, they're built from materials, rare earths, specialty alloys, precision components. And China sits at the center of that supply web, not because it seized it overnight, but because it invested in it relentlessly while others outsourced it away. So, when technology restrictions escalate, the response isn't symmetrical, it's structural. One side restricts software and licenses. The other side tightens material flow. And in manufacturing, material usually wins. For decades, one of China's biggest aviation vulnerabilities was propulsion. Engines were expensive, short-lived, maintenance-heavy. That gap shaped force structure and export limitations. But sustained investment, driven largely by military demand, changed that trajectory. Today, indigenous engine programs support not just fighters, but civilian aircraft and heavy transport. This matters for one reason. You cannot build air power independence without engine independence. And once that threshold is crossed, embargoes lose their bite. Now enter Pakistan, not as a footnote, but as a stress test. Pakistan doesn't need symbolic parity. It needs integrated dominance, and that's exactly what Chinese systems are optimized to provide. Fighters, radars, early warning platforms, air defense, data links. Not a collection of purchases but an ecosystem. The J-35 doesn't arrive alone. It arrives already speaking the same digital language as everything around it. That is what makes it dangerous. If Pakistan fields even a modest number of J-35s, the implications ripple outward. Not because India is weak, but because integration beats ambition. Developing a fifth-generation fighter is not just about design. It's about timelines, testing cycles, budgets, and political friction. And in that race, delays compound. PowerPoint slides do not deter squadrons. Here's the paradox. The J-35 does not meaningfully alter nuclear deterrence between major powers. That balance is already locked. What it alters is the behavior of middle powers, states that act as buffers, proxies, pressure points. That's where speed matters most, because deterrence at that level depends on confidence. And confidence erodes quickly when replacement timelines collapse. China has recently allowed more visibility into programs like the J-35, factory footage, materials, manufacturing processes. That isn't carelessness, it's signaling. A message that says, this isn't fragile, this isn't rare, this isn't slow. And that message is directed outward, not at rivals, but at their partners, the future that's already arriving. While attention remains fixed on fifth-generation debates, sixth-generation platforms are already flying in prototype form. The lesson isn't that China is racing ahead technologically. The lesson is that development and production are no longer separate phases. They overlap. Iterate, build, deploy, refine. That loop is tightening. The most dangerous assumption in modern defense planning is that wars will be short. The J-35 challenges that assumption. Not by being perfect, but by being replaceable. And in an era defined by exhaustion, sanctions, and industrial strain, that may be the most powerful weapon of all, because when speed becomes the weapon, the side that can keep building decides how long the fight lasts. And honestly, history shows, time favors the factory that never stops.